Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back. This is Frank Agin. This is another episode of the Networking RX podcast. I'm the founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. And yes, I did shush you. Today's a guest day. We have a guest on here today, Ashley Harwood. She's the founder of Move Over Extroverts and is a fierce advocate for introvert entrepreneurs. She's the creator of the Quiet Success Workshop, the Quiet Success Programs, and founder of the Quiet Success Retreat. She's taught hundreds of introverted entrepreneurs throughout the entire country and loves showing business owners alternative ways to grow their business. When she's not spreading the message of Move Over Introverts around the world, she loves cooking, doing yoga, and swimming in the ocean. She's located near LA. But one of the things I found out about her through the wonder of LinkedIn is she grew up in the Upper Peninsula. Well, I didn't grow up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. She went to college in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. She's a Michigan girl, but she doesn't like the cold, so she is not there anymore. Ashley, welcome to the program.
Hi, Frank. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Well, let's get your. You went to college in Marquette, Michigan, Northern Michigan University, and you weren't swept away by some Uper boys, so you got out of there and. Why don't you kind of give us your story and how you kind of got into this, move over extrovert mindset?
Sure. So after college, I moved to Massachusetts, where I spent 9 years. And I had a couple different small careers, small jobs at retail, whatever. And then I got my real estate license, which had been a dream of mine since college. And so I got my real estate license. I jumped in full time. And as you know, you have to go find clients. That was the hardest part. And I was with a great company that provided a lot of training. So I went through the training, but what I was finding was as I implemented what I was taught, I wasn't having the same results that my colleagues were. So I felt really frustrated and discouraged and felt like maybe I'm not cut out for this, or there's something wrong with me. Like I'm using the same scripts and making the same calls and not getting the same results. So fast forward a couple of years, I realized what did work for me in terms of getting clients was being out there networking, joining BNI, joining Chamber of Commerce, these things that were not necessarily taught to me. So then fast forward a couple more years and my business had grown to a point where I either needed to start hiring other agents and build out my team or shift gears and do something else entirely. And what I decided to do with the help of my business coach at the time was to switch gears. And I realized that I'm an introvert and I've had to figure out through a lot of trial and error and heartache and tears how to make this business work for me. So there's a huge opportunity for me to help other people who are like me get there faster. And that's
Gotcha.
where the idea behind Move Over Extroverts came from. And that was almost 2 years ago. So I've been loving it.
Well, good. Now, I guess let's start and, what is an introvert?
What is an introvert? I love this question because it's very misunderstood. So an introvert is someone who gets their energy from being alone. An extrovert gets their energy from being around other people. That's it. That is the whole definition. It has nothing to do with being shy or not liking people or even being super quiet. Those things are not related necessarily. So sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't, but it all comes down to the transfer of energy.
Yeah, that's interesting because I have people in my life who just need people around. I mean, they just need people around. It's like having a beer. I need a beer. I need people around me. And I'm more like you. I go to the movies alone. I don't mind doing it.
Mhm.
My wife's not listening. I prefer to do it. I prefer to put headphones on and watch the movies, or just, be at home with the dog. And I like people,
Yeah.
but okay. Can introverts be successful entrepreneurs? I guess I think the answer is yes, right? I mean, there's not going to be this great shocker coming out of your mouth.
Yes. Hot take. Introverts can be successful entrepreneurs, but I want to make a point to say that explicitly because just in general, at least in Western society, there's kind of this vibe out there that you have to be a typical salesperson and you have to love people and be really outgoing and gregarious, and that's not true. In fact, a lot of consumers will be turned off by that type of aggressive personality. So there's enough business for everyone and every personality type.
Why do you think there's that misnomer? Because I think we all have that. You walk into the room and there's, I'll pick on guys because they seem to be the glad handers, right? And you're like, wow, he's not afraid of anything. He must look at that suit. What am I missing? What am I not doing? But I'm thinking of one person in particular I won't name, but when I peel back the layers of the onion and find out more about this person, it's like, oh my gosh, they're financially destitute. He's not successful at all. He's the little man behind the curtain in the Wizard of Oz, right? It's all a facade. So why is this? Why?
That's a great question, and I don't have an exact answer. What I think is that the people who are successful and genuine and just good people, and the opposite of what you're describing, are the people who don't feel that need. They don't have the insecurity that they need to show it off or pretend or put on a front. Like
Right.
Buffett lives in his very modest home because he doesn't have anything to prove.
No, I think
So
I think there's a lot to that. I think there's a lot to that. I'm of the mind. I'm of the same way of thinking you are. I think, and I tell people this. I think introverts have an advantage. And your definition is a learning experience for me. Because I was thinking, okay, aligned it more with being shy. And you're right, there is overlap. But I think introverts can be better listeners. They don't have to be out there. They don't have to be the center of attention.
absolutely. We like to go deeper with people and build stronger relationships, ask more questions and listen and follow up. And those are all really important skills as a business owner and a salesperson. Like that's where the money is made right there.
Oh, it's all relationships. That's the thing. I think that's where part of where the misnomer is, hey, somebody who's fearless is going to be great at sales. They're fearless. They're going to be great at getting what they need in their business. And that is not necessarily true. I think it works out when you have a business where there's not a relationship. Mm-hmm. Selling a car. We talked about this before we hit record. Selling a car. You sell a car, and they drive off the lot, and and that's it. Mm-hmm. But if you have a business like being a realtor, being an attorney, being an accountant, coach consultant like you are, doing the things I do, the sale is really the beginning, because you still have to kind of, I don't want to say service the sale, but you have to have that relationship. And that's hard. That is hard. How do so your definition of an introvert is somebody who draws energy from being alone, but by its definition, you need other people to be successful. So there's kind of an irony there, right? You need to be around people, but you draw energy from being alone. How do you help people manage that? How do you see people managing those energies?
Right. So that's one of the keystones to all of my work is teaching this concept of energy management and looking at energy like a resource like money or like time. Because it's not just time and money, it's time, money, and energy. And energy is a resource that ebbs and flows. My favorite analogy is a phone battery. You go to an event, you're around people, the battery starts draining. You have some time alone, the battery goes back up. And so it's just managing that and trying to keep it in that middle section of battery life. Because when you drop down too low and you get to that, on the phone, it turns red. It gives you a warning. It says, oh no, your battery is going to die. Plug me in, please. So the more awareness that each of us as individuals can have about ourselves and our own energy battery, we can prevent burnout by making sure we plug ourselves in to recharge before we hit that red section. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's very insightful because it's, for me, Thanksgiving is always a stressful time of year. Don't get me, I'm not a big Thanksgiving food fan. I'm a football fan, things like that. But our tradition is we go to my wife's family and they're very close knit and they're always kind of doing things together. Whereas my family, it's just a little quieter. And it's a little, hey, let's just watch a movie. It's good. It's okay to go sit off and read a book. It's perfectly acceptable, and it's a little odd with my wife's family, which is ironic because my wife is, my wife is somewhat introverted. She, I guess all my kids are. They're outgoing, but they're totally happy just being alone. Totally happy being alone. Let's shift gears here a little bit. I want to talk about your work and talk about ways that the audience could help you. Types of, you in the intro, the Quiet Success workshops, your programs, your retreats. Here's your opportunity. Tell us all about them.
Sure, thank you. So I'd love to provide some resources for your listeners. My offers and programs have changed a lot over this year because this has been the craziest year ever. And so right now what I have to offer is a membership group that we just launched. We'll be opening up enrollment again later this fall. So if you want to join the wait list, everything's on my website, moveoverextroverts.com. And there's also a link to a free online course, mini course called the Quiet Success Quick Start Program. And that's a pre-recorded course that people can access totally free and get a sense of, what I can offer. The retreat hopefully is still happening. As of right now, it's still happening the last week of October in Aruba. And yeah, I do workshops for offices, for groups. I could put something together for an individual. And yeah, I'm also doing a lot of speaking, which this year has been virtual. But I can't wait to have some speaking opportunities in person again someday, because that is my favorite.
As we record this, we're in the midst of the, staying socially distancing, I guess is the best way. I don't want to call it quarantining. That sounds horrible. Do you find that your clientele is doing well through this? I would think they would be.
Yes, that's a good question too. So some of them are, but a lot of them are not, because they no longer have the house to themselves during the day.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else who lives there is there all the time. So it's actually surprisingly challenging for the introverts right now.
Okay, I wouldn't have, I didn't think about that. Now, I get up every day and I come to my office. It's a house converted to office space. It's 2,000 square feet. It's me, generally my assistant. My daughter comes in from time to time as well. I like being here, and now that kind of explains it, because when I'm home, everybody's there, you know?
Well, you're one of the fortunate ones to have a separate space.
Yeah.
So I experienced this myself. I was in downtown LA in a very small loft with no separate rooms. And then in March, when everything shut down, my boyfriend was now working from home too. And so we didn't even have a separate room to go to, because it was a cool downtown open concept loft. And so we just moved closer to the beach and have, 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and lots of walls and doors. And it's just having that alone space. And so, people either need to get creative. I'm sure they already have gotten creative or made changes and up and moved to accommodate the new reality. And I can't even imagine what people with kids are doing right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, what the saying I have in our house is, one day we will look back and really cherish all this time together. Mm-hmm. Today is just not that day, right? Because we're at each other's throats. And it's easy to be, you go shopping, you cook, and there's leftovers, and by the time you get home, it's gone. It's like having locusts, just kind of rolling through and grabbing everything. So how could listeners help you, referring you people?
So they can direct people to my website, moveoverextroverts.com. That's probably the best way to get all the information. I'm also on Facebook, Move Over Extroverts, Ashley Harwood. I run a couple of Facebook groups. One is just for women. It's called Introvert Women Entrepreneurs. And there's one for everyone called Introvert Entrepreneurs.
Okay, interesting. Well, I really appreciate your time today. You've given me certainly some things to think about, but you gave me a link to your website, which I will get into the show notes, and people can get quick access to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connections. All rights reserved.